Obe is the co-founder of the non-profit Black Swimming Association and joins us from London. Danielle, thank you so much for coming on to the program. So Fina may be reviewing this cap and their decision on it, but what did you make of the decision when you first heard it?
When we first heard the decision that Fina had put forward regarding the use of the soul cap as an option for long, thick, voluminous Afro hair, it was quite disappointing because, again, when we think about where that decision would have been made or why it would have been made, our real stance is that it was made and it was an ill-informed decision. It wasn't one that was made taking into account our community or taking into account inclusivity of the sport as a whole.
One of the statements Fina said was that the cap doesn't follow the natural form of the head. I found it quite concerning listening to something like that because it took me back to apartheid South Africa when such statements were made to lesser than status given to black people. How did you feel when you heard that type of reasoning?
Well, that reasoning doesn't hold water because who gets to define what a normal formed head is? The head is particular to ethnicity, is particular to people as a whole. And having to put out a statement or make a decision to ban the soul cap because of the natural form and also that current athletes didn't really use caps of that sort of configuration, again, was ill-informed because when we think about the impact of that statement, it is saying we want to see representation in the sport, but we want to see representation on our own terms. Representation to the African, Caribbean, and Asian community is understanding our unique aquatic behaviors, understanding the barriers that preclude us as a community, people of color, from engaging in the water. Standard swim caps do not work for our hair. They were not really created in the first place for our hair. The standard swim caps are skull caps that really are designed for silky hair to give the hydrodynamics as athletes or swimmers cut into the water, but also to stop long hair flowing into the face when people are swimming. But when you think about our Afro hair, it could be in braids like you can see my hair. Our hair doesn't grow down, it grows up and out. And it needs a lot more form around the crown to be able to tuck in and protect the hair. And that is what the likes of soul caps and similar caps to soul cap offer us as a community. So all we're saying is hear our voice and understand some of these barriers that preclude us from engaging in aquatics. Hair is a significant barrier for our community.
Yeah, you talk about underrepresentation in the sport of swimming for people of colour. And a Sport England report from January last year says only 20% of black children take part in swimming compared to 29% of white children. With this decision from Fina, this is surely just another barrier to children wanting to take part in the sport, or even for younger kids looking at starting swimming. Why are minorities underrepresented in swimming?
Minorities are generally underrepresented in swimming because I don't think that national governing bodies, international governing bodies like Fina, deliberately look to preclude certain communities from the sport. I think some of the decisions that have historically guided the NGBs have really come from the fact that you don't see a lot of representation poolside. You don't see a lot of representation in the games. You see a lot more people who are not from the underrepresented communities that we are seeking to represent. If the sport is to be more inclusive, then we have to look at what the aquatic needs of underrepresented communities are, and to ensure that every single one who is performing in the sport has got the right swimwear and product that is best suited to them. And that's where we believe that Fina missed it on the call of the ruling of the swim cap. But hopefully they have said now, put out a statement that they are reviewing their decision, and we would be pushing to ensure that the sport is inclusive for all. Again, when you look at the figures that you mentioned, 20% of black children in England leave school unable to swim. So you then we find ourselves in a situation where, although there is the willingness to engage in the sport, there is a statement like Fina that is saying you're actually not welcomed. Although I don't think that might be what they intended to put forward, that is the impact that it has with the community. Because hair, like I said, is a significant barrier for our community's participation as a whole.
And hopefully that is a barrier. If Fina does reverse that decision, that will make it easier for underrepresented people to get involved in such sport. Danielle Obe, really good to speak to you. Thank you.